Tum praesidium confugimus sancta Dei Genetrix nostras deprecationes ne despicias in necessitatibus nostris, sed a periculis cultis libera nos semper, Virgo gloriosa et benedicta, Domina nostra, mediatrix nostra, advocata nostra, tua filia nos concilia, tua filia nos commenda, tua filia nos representa. Amen. The prophet Jeremiah is often thought of as a prophet of gloom, but that's not fair. The gloom was surrounding him, and he was trying to defend his own from it. He could see, with the knowledge of God, what submission to Egypt was going to do when the power of Assyria was waning, and he was urging the Jews to submit rather to Babylon. We know how desperate things would become eventually, and Jeremiah himself was caught in this whirlwind of political events. Be that as it may, he is seen as somebody who in some way foreshadowed the Lord's own unpopularity. He could have been silent, Jeremiah, and if he did so, he felt this burning inside him. He had to speak out. Well, something of that must be found also in the preacher of our time. This burning inside to proclaim not just platitudes, but something that hurts, costs, is challenging, and can lead to trouble. Right now, if we're not careful, we can back down before proclaiming certain truths that need to be heard. With regard to the psalm, it is one of the most beautiful in the whole Psalter. It has been in the festal psalms for centuries, on feast days, Sundays, and the like. And when sung, it is truly uplifting on every level. Personally, every Sunday and feast day that it comes, and there are many of them, I just close my eyes and sing it to a beautiful French melody, one of Gélineau's easily memorable ones. And one is there contemplating the Lord in the sanctuary. One is clinging to him. This is a very high tone in the Psalter, and we can take it on board, remembering how the Lord himself used these hymns of Jewry. We have something in common with our Saviour when we use his hymn book, composed by the finger of God, the Spirit himself. And here we have, in the concluding part of the whole Tractatus that we've been following in the Epistle to the Romans, basic concrete conclusions. Whereas the animals sacrificed under the old regime had no personal awareness or comprehension of their role, what we are offering is a reasonable worship, the mind, the intelligence, the spirit are all fully engaged and conscious. And so too is our body. Much is contained in this exhortation, the beginning of the 12th chapter of Romans, and it comes quite often in the liturgy, a reading read regularly for saints. And it needs to be ours too. Reasonable worship, logike latreia, is what it is called. The mind needs to engage, and we need to be in some way making into a living, vibrant entity what our body is proclaiming. The body and the mind must engage, both in complete harmony and both fully at work. Otherwise, we have either the body doing its thing and the mind being drawn into the body, what we might call a ritualism, where attention is given to the correctness of the execution only, or the Protestant error of only having the mind and the body being in pure abstraction. We need the completeness of our worship, incarnate but living for every part of our being, for we return unto the Creator all that He has given us. He is Lord of all, but He deserves only the best, and therefore the body does matter insofar as it needs to be well dressed, shaven if he's a man, and the like. These things do count. We don't have just shoddiness for God and then dress up to go to a thing which is afterwards more important, and that's not healthy. God deserves the best, and even children should be educated to dress well when they come to church on a Sunday. The best behaviour is the equivalent of taking off our shoes like Moses when we come before the burning bush. The body and the soul together worship. With regard to the gospel, we have this proclamation, which of course takes Peter by surprise and leads to this rebuke. Get behind me, Satan. Insofar as what is being invited is that the Lord think not of failure. Of course, Peter is out of goodwill trying to help his master, but he can't see further than the human. That can apply to us too. We think as men think. We have the vision of man. If we had a supernatural vision of things, our reactions would be very different, if we're honest. But then we have this generalization that it applies to everyone who wants to follow the Lord. The aorist, that's the immediate action, is used for denying oneself. It's an action of, okay, I let go. I cease to will, I cease to have my rights, I hand them over. And taking up the cross, it's taking up the instrument of execution. These were everywhere, and one would see a person carrying part of his instrument of torture through the streets in this Roman-occupied territory. But then the other one is not in the aorist, but in the continuous present. One is to carry on following the Lord. That's not just a one-off thing. And then the question of what we might have in exchange for our life, well, our soul, nephesh, psyche. This is the element, the inner essence of man, what will go on. One can have great success in the eyes of men. And nowadays people think that they have success if they have many followers on YouTube or whatever it might be. Well, it's complete air and ventilation of void, whereas the soul, though unseen, is the reality, the one reality. When all noise is over, the soul will see itself, and on it will go, not with many followers, but on its own cloud, gained by merit or demerit, and then there's no coming back. And we can lose it by being drained towards attention to the other side. And that's precisely what old Nick does. Get them deceived about what really matters. So, gaining the whole world in popularity is one thing, but losing intimacy with our King, who's also our judge, is quite another. Fuerunt, they once were. Upon a day there hangs a day or two, not made of time, but of long hours gone by, that linger yet. For set in fading hue of pigment and of pen, the moments high but once upon the cosmos where they moved are true again a while, a little while. For though no heart beat yet where these once loved, there hovers mystery upon a smile. Oh, faces of our yesterday, what new the placid grin that thus withstands the age that set where your sun set? And what was true but once in time, that for all time a page holds firm for man's long puzzling? What a more remains of pains and ecstasies of yore?